So what is a smart city? In a smart city, there's a balance between infrastructure and individuals.
To me, a smart city uses efficient and friendly ways to make a community more accessible to its people.
A smart city is a city that utilizes different renewable energy sources to improve the lives of the people in it.
Okay, so the topic that we chose was energy and utilities and how to manage these with growing city populations around the world. In the words of CU professor Austin Troy, energy is something we don't notice until there's a crisis. And now, however, we are starting to see these types of crises arise.
Unfortunately, modifying the whole city in multiple aspects would be impossible. So we decided that energy and utilities would be a comprehensive choice. This would permeate to other aspects of the city, such as agriculture, transportation, and infrastructure.
It is projected that by 2050, 70% of the world's population will be living in cities, which means we have to come up with effective ways to power these newly populated areas.
With so many people moving into cities, there's challenges that arise. For example, how will the city distribute resources among their citizens, educate them, and provide medical facilities?
Additionally, we need to learn to accept each other's cultures and work together peacefully and respectfully. A city will never survive if its people don't feel welcomed.
Let's look at Denver as an example.
Denver's problem? It relies almost solely on non-renewable energy sources.
Denver's government has begun to take the essential steps needed to become a smart city, and the changes we have designed will help Denver get closer to its goal. Let's look at some possible options for Denver.
Here we have geothermal energy, which uses the Earth's crust to heat and cool water in a clean and sustainable way. This seemed like a good option for Denver, but after estimating cost, we realized it would be too expensive.
By burning biomass materials like wood and residual crops, we can heat water and turn that into steam, which powers a turbine and generates electricity. Though this is effective, it's much better suited to a city with more space.
And then the next energy that we were looking into was wind energy. And this can be especially helpful if you use a smaller turbine called a vertical axis wind turbine, and this can fit in roof gardens or rooftops.
Unfortunately, Denver does not get enough windy days per year to make wind energy an effective power source.
Though there were many options that would not work for Denver, here are a few that would.
For example, hydroelectricity. This renewable energy source uses the movement of water to rotate turbines that, in turn, generate electricity. This would be hard to institute into the city of Denver due to its lack of large lakes and reservoirs. However, our team believes that we have found a way to overcome that barrier.
One aspect of our project will involve installing turbines in the storm drains throughout the city. So when snow melts or rain runs off into the storm drains, the water would spin the turbine and generate electricity.
We will also have a durable filter that will be able to catch any pollution that may be passing through the storm drains. These will be cleaned periodically, and if anything gets through, the turbine will be directly connected to a monitor that can tell if it is clogged.
So overall, there are tons of benefits to using hydroelectric energy. It's driven by the water cycle, so as long as it rains or snows, the turbines can spin, and they can power the city with electricity without producing any harmful emissions. It can also produce electricity as a backup in case of a power outage.
So by 2030, we hope to educate the citizens of Denver on the benefits of the project and have them fully involved in the fundraising.
Although we will begin the fundraising in 2030, we won't install the turbines until 2040, when we have developed a stable plan for a filter. In 2040, we would also like to begin testing these turbines to verify that they are efficient, stable, and do not allow trash and other pollutants to clog them.
By 2050, we want this system up and running. We want the turbines to substantially decrease the amount of emissions released. And we also want to have places throughout the city that display data, such as numbers that say how much electricity has been generated, so the citizens can see their donations being put to use.
Finally, we have solar energy. Colorado gets 300 days of sunshine per year, which makes the sun a valuable resource for powering the city. Thus, we feel that solar energy is the best option for Denver.
This could be extremely beneficial to a city like Denver. First off, we can use it as long as the sun is shining, and those solar panels are very expensive. The amount of energy and money we save on electricity will eventually make up for it.
By 2030, we want at least 1 in 5 houses to have solar panels. By 2040, we want at least 2 in 5 houses, as well as 50% of commercial buildings to have solar panels. We would also like to start transitioning away from non-renewable resources.
By 2050, we hope to have almost every building and home equipped with solar panels on the roof. And Denver, as a city, would have become more renewable, more reliant on renewable energy sources rather than non-renewable ones.
Aside from renewable energy sources, we also looked into model smart cities that we could adapt ideas into Denver from. Some of the cities that we looked into were Copenhagen and Barcelona. In Copenhagen, they've been trying to reduce emissions by creating bike lanes and encouraging people to bike rather than drive.
And Barcelona has a really cool bike sharing system called e-Sing. So there are 400 different bike racks throughout the city, and citizens can check out a bike. Once they reach their destination, they can check a bike back into a nearby rack.
We are aware that Denver already has a bike system, but want to expand it so it is even more accessible. For example, we will have a card that will allow people to check out a bike, similar to a library card.
By 2030, we hope to educate the public on the benefits of the project. These benefits would include exercise, reduced carbon emissions, safer transportation, and cheaper transportation and safer bike paths throughout the city.
By 2040, we hope to have the public fully involved with this, and we will begin to repair old bikes and have them donated to the cause. By 2040, we would also like to begin construction on the bike lanes to make them larger and safer for the community.
By 2050, we will have a full network of bike systems that run efficiently and effectively throughout the city, all at an affordable price.
Our next city-adopted plan is an official green plan that companies will submit to the city. This Tokyo-adopted plan allows the city to track energy consumption and energy efficiency in buildings. Homes will be exempted from this plan due to personal finance limitations. And so, to draw a clear line, all buildings under 12,000 square feet will not be required to submit a green plan.
Next, every 10 years, buildings will be required to use new technology to make their buildings more energy efficient. Finally, homeowners with property under 12,000 square feet will be encouraged to modify their homes to adapt to a more eco-friendly environment, but will not be required to submit a green plan.
Existing buildings will not be required to re-renovate their entire structure, but will be asked to adapt it in a more subtle way.
The buildings required to submit the plan will need to show initiative on how they will incorporate solar energy into their design, and they will also need to show initiative on how they will be energy efficient in general.
These plans will be submitted to a board of people who will focus on processing these plans, as well as continuing to monitor energy efficiency in the city.
From Tokyo, we would also like to adopt an official green plan. An official cap and trade program. A cap and trade program is a two-part system to limit the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that a facility can produce. The cap sets a limit on those emissions, and the trade then penalizes those facilities if they exceed the cap.
In 2013, Denver alone produced 12,985 metric tons of carbon emissions. That leaves an average of 21 metric tons per building. To provide context, a metric ton is a little over 2,000 pounds. Over time, we can lower the cap, eventually decreasing the amount of non-renewable energy that buildings can use.
So, overall, by 2030, we want to have the green building plan in place, as well as periodic reports on the progress that is made. We would also like to encourage the little things that make a big difference, such as using LED lights and even recycling. By 2030, we would have the cap and trade program proposed to the city with all of its logistics worked out.
By 2040, we hope to have a cap of 18 metric tons put on greenhouse gas emissions. This cap will be slowly lowered over time as technology develops and can be utilized in modern buildings. So by 2050, it may even reach as low as 16 metric tons. Now, this still seems like a lot of emissions, but considering it's 5 tons less than the average today, it is a considerable decrease. These ideas that we have projected to you will help to make a better earth and a higher quality of living for the people in it.
So, many people have objected to using renewable energy sources, especially in a state like Colorado, which is so reliant on fracking.
People commonly object to hydropower because it can destroy the habitats of animals or sacred lands of natives in the area.
In general, solar takes up a lot of space in the natural ecosystem, so building solar panels on top of rooftops can eliminate or decrease the amount of wilderness taken up.
Solar panels can also be expensive. Part of this cost comes from the storage of solar panels on days when it's not sunny, or when it's waiting to be sent to the grid. If solar panels connected directly to commercial buildings like what we see in homes, this problem would be solved.
With this plan, energy would not have to be transported from a remote location to a city where it's being used.
We can also be using other systems like hydroelectric on days when there is less sunshine.
In 2016, there were almost 30,000 people in Colorado working for the oil industry. Switching to renewable energy would create a significant job loss. Many of the changes that we have designed will still allow for the people employed in the oil industry to have jobs.
For example, we'd still need engineers to design the systems in which solar panels and turbines would be implemented.
Construction crews working on installing pipelines can now instead work on installing turbines and solar panels.
Our plan is for these changes to be made over the next 30 years, which will allow time for jobs and positions to be made for those affected by this change.
Yeah, so we're gonna need tons of jobs. We're gonna need maintenance, construction crews, engineers, programmers, people to monitor the systems, and people to handle the commercial aspects of this project.
If we institute a bike system into Denver, we will need people to repaint bike lanes. This project is centered on the people. We need the community and the workers of Denver to help us reach our goal of this project.
We are not looking to put anyone out of work. All those who lose their jobs will have a place in our new program. But if we don't start changing our habits and saving the earth now, there won't be an earth to save later.
We were really excited about this new aspect to the World Affairs Challenge this year, which was the local initiative. We wanted to make an impact on our community.
At first, we struggled to come up with an idea for our local action plan, but then we thought about our school. We realized we are relying on non-renewable energy sources to produce a lot of energy.
So, we are lucky to live in a community like Louisville that is so centered around making the earth a better place. So, we did some research and found Green Micro Gym, a company that sells bikes that generates energy just by pedaling.
Bikes made by Green Micro Gym have already been instituted into a school in Michigan. After reading about this, we decided it was a perfect fit for our school's values.
From there, the idea flourished. We got approval from the administrators and gym teachers and almost immediately ordered our first bike. It arrived just yesterday.
Alright, so let me explain a little bit about how these bikes work. So when you pedal the bike, you turn the hub generator, and that generates a type of electricity called direct current electricity, or DC for short. Now, buildings and offices use another type of electricity called alternating current electricity, or AC for short. So in order for this electricity to be usable by our school, this DC needs to be converted to AC, and that is done with an inverter. Once that is done, a plug is inserted into a wall, and the electricity is sent back up into the building.
The bikes generate anywhere between 75 and 150 watts during 1 hour of pedaling. This means that a class of students using the bikes could generate enough electricity to power another class's computers. So while this won't get our school off the grid entirely, it is a good first step. Also, this source of energy is great because as long as we have kids to pedal, we can be generating electricity.
The benefits of these bikes are more than just being a renewable energy source. It allows kids like us to think about the future of the earth and what we can be doing to save it.
Not only will kids get invested into Earth's health, the bikes promote kids exercising, which will hopefully carry over into a lifelong investment into personal health.
According to a study done by Harvard Medical School, exercise releases chemicals that can stimulate the brain for higher functioning memory and concentration.
Furthermore, these bikes will provide another option for kids who are ambivalent about participating in mainstream gym activities. Also, students and faculty can join together and behind an idea that benefits them both. And who's to say it'll stop there? I know my family already wants to buy one for our house.
Pairing this with our bike initiative for Denver could have a multitude of possibilities that would make Denver a smarter and more green city. For instance, it has been proven that if the number of cyclists increases, the number of accidents will decrease. It is our goal that the bikes will be a functional means of transportation rather than just a hobby or a form of exercise.
And we all know that the people of Denver love their exercise. It fits well with the culture of the city altogether. If we can get a whole community behind a project like this, the possibilities are endless.
Maybe in the future, these bikes will be stationary, so we can be generating energy on the go. This produces energy not only for the city, but also for the individual, keeping the citizens of Denver active.
Long term, we want to turn the ideas we have into a reality that can prove to future students that they can play an active role in the lives of their community members, no matter their age.
We want every kid to be able to participate in this program for our school.
So we are hoping to buy 25 bikes so that an entire class will be pedaling at the same time.
Unfortunately, these bikes are very expensive, but we have started to fundraise using GoFundMe and raising money at our parent-teacher conferences.
The plan is to institute these bikes within the next 4 years, but because of school budgeting and fundraising, they will not all be bought this year. We are very invested in this project and are prepared to continue facilitating it throughout high school.
We have a website that tells our parents and students from our community about this initiative. It tells you about our mission and links to our donation page. If people are interested in contributing to this cause, you can visit the site to do so.
Starting small, say in a school, is a good first step towards changing the world. In the words of Van Gogh, great things are not done by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together.
It is the job of the students globally to find creative solutions to today's problems.
Our generation can be the first step. We have the rest of our lives to change the world, but why not start now?
Thank you.
Thank you.